Okay, hi Facebook, this is Emily. We're at the Alpine Shop in Kirkwood, and we're starting our second class of Adventure Racing 101. Tonight we're going to talk about paddling and clothing, and I'm going to stop talking to the camera right now and just talk to our audience. So, thanks for watching. Alright, welcome everybody. My name is Emily Korsch. I think I met most of you last week at our trekking and navigation clinic. But just if I haven't met you yet, my name is Emily. I'm one of the race directors. I've been adventure racing since about 2009. The Castlewood adventure race was my very first adventure race, and I was immediately hooked, really from the first 5 feet of the race. So I'm really excited to be able to kind of direct an event that has been very meaningful to me. We've been directing now, this will be our 3rd year, but the Castlewood race in its entirety has been in existence for over 10 years through, I think, 3 or 4 ownerships. So the Alpine Shop is really excited to bring that to you. We have Earl here and then another special guest, Perry, tonight for our paddling talk. So I'll let them introduce themselves.
Hi, my name is Scott Erlandson. I'm one of the assistant race directors with Emily, and this is my 3rd year helping out with the race, and I've been adventure racing since about 2002, and just, that's it.
Hi, I'm Perry. I'm one of the kayak instructors here at the Alpine Shop, and I'm a kayak racer on Facebook.
Okay, so that's us for today, and then we also have our Tess, the adventure racing golden retriever, too. She'll be helping out tonight. She's actually never paddled before. She paddles herself, but not in a boat ever, so maybe don't ask her any paddling tips. So we're going to let Perry get going first. He's going to just kind of walk you through kind of the basics of canoeing. The Castlewood Adventure Race, we always use 2-person canoes, and then we are I can't say this for an entire certainty, but traditionally we paddle on the Merrimack River. If anything happens in the future, we might be on a lake, but we use the Merrimack River almost every year. So the paddling section will be, or sections will be between 5 and 10 miles, primarily downstream. And then Perry's just going to walk through some basic paddling techniques, how to read the river a little bit to steer yourself in the fastest time is not always the shortest distance on a river, and he'll answer any questions you guys have about canoeing on the mighty Merrimack. So, Perry.
Okay, this section of the river you're going to be paddling on, I don't know what it is, but I do know most of the Merrimack is really pretty. Most people just see the Merrimack under 2 conditions. They see it when they drive over it. That's never a pretty section. Or they see it on a drunken float trip when the water's 98.6. Your water won't be 98.6 this time. It will be pretty cold. The chances of going for a swim are pretty slim, but I think every year somebody does. A vast majority of the time, if you're going to go for a swim, it's going to be in the first 5 seconds or last 5 seconds of the trip, getting in or out of your boat. So take it slow, 3 points of contact when you get into the boat, and yeah, just the first few feet, take it slow. Wear your life jacket all the time. I don't care if you can swim. I don't care. Wear it all the time. If for no other reason, it's a little extra insulation. Just wear your life jacket all the time.
Just to add to that, as far as PFDs, it's mandatory gear. If you're not wearing your PFD during the paddle, your team will be disqualified, so you don't want to do that.
So there's
wear your PFD.
And the race provides them.
Yeah.
So you don't have to own one, we provide them, and then we take them away so you don't have to carry it during the race.
Yeah. The race will provide boats, paddles, and PFDs. Wear your PFDs. So basically, I want to talk about paddle technique first. I'm going to make some assumptions. I'm going to assume most of you have been in a canoe before, maybe in a kayak. In a canoe, also known as divorce boats, people argue because they disagree about who should be steering the boat. the person in the back steers. Person in the back steers. Always remember the person in the back steers. Person in the front, you're a motor. Where the fights start is when the person in the front starts trying to steer. The reality of it is most of you can get in a canoe and figure out how to steer it. Paddle on the right to turn to the left, paddle on the left to turn to the right. You want to, one habit people get into a lot with steering is they'll drag the paddle. That's wasted energy. You don't want to drag the paddle any more than necessary. Instead of dragging the paddle, just take a couple strokes on the other side. You don't want to lose any forward momentum. For an efficient stroke, one thing you can really focus on is that it's not an arm workout. It's a torso workout. And to kind of put that into perspective, let's say you're going to get in a tug of war with somebody, and one person is just using their arms, and the other person is engaging their legs, their back, and their shoulders. Yeah, that's an unfair fight. You know, you want to engage all these muscles when you're paddling a canoe. And the way you do that is with torso rotation. So instead of just using your arms like this, you twist your body. Twist your body. That's engaging your core and your back. That's an automatic 30% increase in efficiency. Yeah. What happens a lot of times is they'll start out good, they'll have that torso rotation, and then they'll start talking and daydreaming and start using their arms and think, there's something wrong with my boat, it's awfully slow. Oh yeah, torso rotation. And there is that big of a difference between using your torso and just using your arms. You can you'll feel that additional speed. It takes a long time before you can get used to using that torso rotation all the time. But maybe write it down on your hand or something as you're out there, and look at your hand every once in a while.
So assuming everyone in your group knows how to steer, is your stronger paddler in front then or in back?
I would put the more experienced person in the back. Maybe not necessarily the strongest, but the most experienced person on steering the boat.
So assuming all experience is fairly level, like
then
do you
I
want
would
your
put
muscles in the front or muscles in the back?
There's benefits of both. What usually happens is the strongest person will be in the back, even if it'd be more efficient for them to be in the front. But the important point is the person in the back is steering, and the person in the front, you just watch out for
So you're
obstacles.
More trustworthy person in the back.
Yeah. Person in the front, you're a motor, and you look for obstacles. Big rock. I'll talk about obstacles in a minute. So remember the torso rotation. Repeat that to yourself over and over as you go down the river. Now let's talk about reading the river. This is a river. The fastest water is 99% of the time. That fastest water is going to be on that outside bend. Vast majority of the time, the faster water is going to be on the outside bend. Use that. Use that to go faster. The difference, well, I race on the Missouri River more than anything. Outside bend could be 4 miles an hour. Inside bend could be going backwards. So even though the shortest distance between 2 points would be that straight line, that's absolutely not your fastest. So that outside bend is where the faster water is going to be. This is grossly oversimplified because a lot of times there's going to be obstacles on that outside bend. So we have to watch out for those too. But for the section you're going on, if it's the section I think it is, there aren't many obstacles on that outside bend. But we can have a flood between now and then, and suddenly the river changes. So outside bend is the fast water. Now let's talk about obstacles. When you're out there paddling, look for V's. What is a V? So the river is going this way. Okay. So if you see this in the river, that means there's an obstacle here, and you want to avoid that. Okay, it could be a rock,
There?
an obstacle.
Oh, an obstacle.
So usually it's going to be a rock. if the V's are going this way, that is the fastest water, going right on those V's. A lot of times people, they'll see this rougher water over here and they'll think that's faster, but it's not. So look for the V's. If the V is pointing toward you, avoid it. If the V is going away from you, aim for it. A vast majority of the time, that's going to be the faster, deeper water. What happens is with that V, as the water speeds up, it scours and makes it a little deeper. And so that's what we're going to be aiming at. Any questions about any of that? So you got a month. You got plenty of time to get ready for this. Yeah. The reality of it is when you get in the start, if you do everything wrong, you'll get to the finish. But if you can just shave off a few minutes by staying in the faster current, or you can save a few arguments by avoiding that rock, then you're going to enjoy the trip more. And I hope that's helpful. And I'll see you on the river. And we will have a bunch of safety boaters out there too. I didn't tell you about that.
I knew it. I knew you'd take care of us.
Okay, so we will have a safety boater at the start, finish, and any obstacle that we find on the river. I'll scout out the river before the race, and we'll have somebody there. So if there's something that worries us, we'll have somebody parked there and say, don't hit this rock, go over there. Okay, hope that's helpful.
Thank you.
Thanks, Coach.
Before Perry takes off, are there any other, paddling questions?
Strategies from switching sides during paddling front and back. Is there a longer row like that? Is there...
I don't think that at this level we can really talk about strategies much unless there are a couple people, if there are people who are really experienced and then they'd already have that strategy. I think that at this level for this race, just whatever side you feel more comfortable on, and if you start getting tired on one side, tell the other guy to switch. If it was a wider river, then we might worry about strategies, but with this one you'll be switching pretty often just because the river's switching pretty often. Yeah.
Okay, a couple other, thank you Perry, for a great evening. A couple other just points to remember when you're paddling, kind of going back to who should be in front and who should be in back. If everything being equal, both people are equally experienced paddlers, equally comfortable steering, I would put the slightly heavier person in the back. Just so that your boat kind of trims up a little bit instead of putting the heavier person in front, which means your boat will plow into the water and it will be more difficult to paddle. So if that's kind of, one more thing to literally weigh when you're deciding who goes in the front and who goes in the back. Usually when...
There's a counter to that too.
Yeah.
So the counter to that is, there's a million different ways to skin this cat. But if you two are paddling together and you're just a little bit heavier than she is, and you want to be the power person in the front, backpacks go further back in the boat. So then all of a sudden you ballasted that boat back out again. So, I mean, there's a lot of different ways to do this, but ultimately, skill set the same as far as steering. I would prefer the power in the front, just to make the boat faster. And then, steering. But again, it's just like, and the water conditions would make a big difference too. It's like, if all of a sudden, right now the river's pretty mellow, so power to the front. But all of a sudden we get a whole bunch of rain the week before and we got crazy currents. I want the power in the steer, and then the most vigilant person up front that's like not going to miss all these obstacles that we can deal with. So it's just, the last 2 years we've been in a nervous wreck of getting the water in the summer too low for the race, and then all of a sudden it's the week before the race, it's like, man, I don't know if we're going to be able to paddle because the water's so hot, because it just does that so fast, so we'll see.
Right.
Speaking as someone who's very experienced in the front of the boat, so Earl and I paddled together almost every race that we do. Traditionally, Earl's in the back, I'll be in the front. And something that has really helped us is when I'm in the front to just make sure to really communicate what I see in front of me. So we use kind of the clock system, like, okay, there's a log sticking out of the river at 1 o'clock. And you know, if someone's in the back, it's sometimes hard for that person to see everything that the front person can see. So if you're in the front, just make sure to really communicate everything you see and in a way that the back person can understand you. Like, if you just say, I see sticks, they could be anywhere. They could be right next to your boat. They could be a mile ahead. So just make sure you can communicate that effectively if it's an immediate problem or something that you just want your steerer to be aware of. Just, you know, FYI, and then they, you know, Earl can usually pick it up and then we don't talk about it anymore. But we just want to make sure to really communicate. And just remember too, when you're in the front, you're facing forward and your voice is going forward. And so it's sometimes hard for the back person to hear you. So just like test it out a little bit earlier when you start and make sure that your back person can hear you if you're in the front. Because that gets really old really fast. Like, what? So just another tip.
It's okay to yell.
Yeah.
Because all of a sudden 2 whats and then you're in the obstacle, so it's a little too late because sometimes you don't see it till you're on top of it. But just be vigilant and speak up, and especially if it's windy, it's just hard to hear in the back of the boat. And if you've got most likely we're going to have stocking caps on too, so that's a whole nother position of ear protection that makes it that much harder to hear.
And if you do happen to, you know, sometimes there's logs that are submerged that you don't see until you're really on top of it, or, you know, some rocks or anything like that in the river. So if you do happen to hit something that's submerged that you didn't see, the most important thing that you can do is just keep your hands in your paddle and keep paddling, because this will help balance you, you know, in your boat and against the river, and will help your boat kind of just skim right over that obstacle, versus if you hit something, your boat wobbles a little, you drop your paddle, and you grab onto the boat, there's nothing that stabilizes the boat against your grabbing. So that just makes things more tippy and more likely that you're going to go for a swim. So it's a really hard, you know, it's your instinct. When you're scared, when the boat is unstable, you want to grab onto it and stabilize it. But it's counterintuitive. What you really need to do when the boat is rocking like that is to just look forward and keep paddling, and then most likely your boat's going to just scoot right off whatever you hit and keep going. Is that pretty good? Can you talk about shallow like gravel bars too?
Right. I don't know about that. I'll let you feed me and then I can talk about it. But in regards to potentially tipping a boat over, somebody's going to tip a boat over race day. I pretty much guarantee it. And it's probably going to happen in the first 100 meters of the paddle. That's when it happens, because everybody's excited, moving fast, pushing off from the beach. And they're like, oh, I don't, you know, something wasn't set before they left. Too much moving around. Or whether you're further down the river, you're going to have to go to shore most likely to drain your boat. When you go to shore to drain your boat, how wet are you? I would take whatever I have on top off, wring it out, and put it back on. At least get some of that water out of your clothing. You're going to be wearing clothing that's going to wick and dry. It's just going to get more comfortable sooner if you can get a lot of that water flushed out. It's going to be cold, but get as much of that flushed out before you go back on the paddle. It's going to take some time, but it's just going to make the rest of your day a little bit better, hopefully. But don't quit. Just, we'll have the resources to help you keep going.
How do you secure your backpack? And you talked briefly about bikes the other day. Suggestions again?
Normally what I'll do is just take this.
What kind of pack is that, Earl?
This is an Osprey Palin 33.
Are they our main sponsor for this race?
Right, and they're the most recommended Palin.
Wow.
There's our infomercial for the day. So if this was a bar in the canoe, I just take
So just some
simple,
kind
don't overthink it, and you can just do that with both packs, or just use the sternum strap, one of the two, and then that's your easiest way to keep your pack from floating away if you do happen to go away. We'll talk more about this when we get into gear about packs and putting dry bags in using dry bags as well.
Okay, so one more thing about paddling. The Merrimack is famous for its gravel bars. We paddled a lot there this summer, and almost every day that we were out there, people were grilling on the gravel bars, tanning, like they're great recreation spots on the Merrimack. But what they mean for you guys when you're trying to paddle in a race is the gravel bars will mean shallow water. So they'll usually be on the insides of these turns. They'll be just a big beach of gravel, and then we'll have some shallow water next to it as the water gets deeper towards the outside of the turns. You just need to be aware of that. You know, when you're trying to cut this, if you are, going against Perry's wishes and trying to cut this straight line, just be aware of the depths of the water. And if you do run aground on these gravel bars, there's a couple different ways to free yourself. One is some coordinated butt scooting. Thunder. So you and your teammate are going to have to I know you can all visualize this, right? Like, okay, 1, 2, 3, scoot, 1, 2, 3, scoot. And just kind of scoot your boat off of this gravel back into the deeper water. Alternatively, you can use your paddles and kind of dig into the gravel and try to, free yourself that way. Kind of use your paddle as a pry bar. These things are very sturdy, so don't go crazy on them, but they're a tool for you to get loose from shallow water. And probably the last solution is one that Earl is an expert at, is the person in the back of the boat gets out of the boat and runs in the water and gets the boat free, and then the person in the front just keeps their feet dry and keeps paddling on their merry way. So hopefully you have as good a teammate as Earl that will get their feet wet for you. That was what I was wanting to talk about. So just be heads up about the depth of the water. We've been scouting it. It's really clear. The Merrimack is really, really beautiful in the winter. So it's hopefully going to be a great paddle for you guys. Any other questions?
Sorry about that.
Yeah?
I guess getting in and pushing off, what's that situation? Is it possible for both to be in the canoe and push off pedals, or is there going to be a sucker who gets wet?
Yeah, great question. It kind of depends on how careful you want to be versus how fast you want to be. The teams that are at the front of the race, probably both people are going to get wet because they're going to run their boats into the water, get them in paddleable water, and then both jump in and get going. If you're careful, there's probably a way for only one of you to get your feet wet, and kind of find some rocks or logs to kind of tiptoe and then jump in at the last minute. But there's not a beautiful designed boat ramp for dry feet only. We don't have that for you guys. Sorry.
If you want to take chances, you could probably get by with one person getting 1 foot wet, which would be amazing, but your odds of tipping the boat over go up a little bit.
But just when you're getting in, if you are inexperienced getting in canoes in a river, you just, this is when you do want to put your hands on the sides of the boat and then keep your feet in the middle of the boat, kind of like you're walking a tightrope, just straight down the spine of the boat, and then so that keeps everything balanced. Usually I like to put get the packs in, get the packs where you want them to be. We usually put the paddles in too, and then the last thing that goes in is your body. So that's just, take your time. It's always a very chaotic place, the boat put in. Sometimes there's more than one, so you have to deal with it multiple times. but this is something when communication among your team really helps. You know, you get to where the boats are, you designate 2 or 3 people to pick out your boats. You designate 1 more person to collect the paddles and the PFDs. You all meet down by the water. Everyone gets their PFD on. You get the paddles where they need to be. Just kind of methodically, you know, running through the kind of mental checklist about who's going to do what and who's going to paddle with who, which seats you're going to be in. So probably you know, depending on if you're running or biking into the paddle put-in checkpoint, just take a couple minutes to just talk through what you're going to do. So Joe and Bob go get the boats, meet us at the water. Annie and Billy can get the PFDs and the paddles, and we'll all meet back there. And then, you know, decide who's going to paddle with who. So
I'd figure that out Friday night.
or Friday night, yeah.
Because for a lot of people, first time racing, we're going to do everything we can just to focus on getting there. But it's like, you figure that out the night before, it eliminates a lot of that. And then you just kind of need to remind yourself when you're going there, now who was doing what? You just, somebody's going to remember and just say, look, and then it's done versus all of a sudden you have 8 PFDs and no paddles. Because 2 people grab all PFDs and then we didn't have any paddles. It happens. And it's like, you know, so just simple, just think it through and plan it.
We're gonna have to put our bike in boat?
Nope.
No bikes in the boats this year. Heard it here first.
How come everybody's so sad about that?
Yeah. We got some
I don't really wanna lose my
pictures last year. We only had bikes in the boats for like less than a quarter mile last year, but the pictures were amazing. Like, bikes were everywhere. We didn't lose any. We were really happy about that. But you're getting a year off, so congrats.
Are all the boats the same?
Yes.
More or less. They're all going to be Old Town canoes, big 16-footers, 14-footers, 2 seats. The thwarts will be in a couple different spots maybe, but
It'll be coming from Bass River. That's our outfitter that we'll be using. So Stefan's always been very helpful to us. So he'll be sending the boys up with boats for the race.
okay. We'll move on to clothing. I kind of mentioned it last week that dressing for a sprint race in December is really, really challenging because you need to have clothing that's going to keep you warm enough through, you know, depending on what your team goals are, you're going to be sprinting on some points and generating a lot of body heat, and then at other points you might be lost and at a total standstill trying to figure the map out. So you just need to have some clothing that will adapt to a variety of different you know, metabolisms and body heat outputs and activities. Everything on the gear list, we think we want to make sure everybody has those items. Specifically, what we keep in mind is what if you go over and get yourself totally wet in the river. If you have the top and the bottom base layers, the fleece top, and the top and the bottom rain layers, and you put all those on and you keep moving, you're going to be fine. So that's why we require everything that's on the gear list, in addition to hats and mittens or gloves, your choice. So we'll just go through those, give you a couple examples. And I know, like, when I did this race for the first time, like, I didn't own any base layers. I didn't really come from an outdoorsy family, so like these things were kind of like, base layer? Like, what's a synthetic versus wool? Like, I was just kind of confused. So we just wanted to give you some examples. You can ask any questions you want, and this is not really commercial. Like, we just want to help educate you to what's out there. So we'll go through. Yeah. Okay, so first we're going to start with the hats. The first thing on the gear list is a wool or a fleece or a synthetic hat. No baseball caps. You can also use a buff. So this is Earl's pretty much favorite piece of clothing. We got it on a little crooked.
Well, there's a big tag in it.
Oh. But black skull cap is invaluable. It weighs almost nothing. You can put it on, take it off really easily. It'll warm you up like 20 degrees really quickly. So any kind of, stocking cap, skull cap, fleece, synthetic, Smart Wool is one of our other sponsors for this race, so they make a really nice little training beanie. Or alternative, do you have a buff? Alternatively, you can use a buff, which is just a piece of tubular fabric. I'm sure you guys have seen them as part of Survivor. But they can go around your neck as a gaiter, go on your head as a hat, your head as a headband. I like to actually cut mine in half so I can use one piece as a headband and then one piece as like a smaller neck gaiter. But they're, again, super light, super versatile. You can bring two if you want, wear one on your head or on your neck. But just something to retain all of the heat coming out of your head is the first thing that's on our required gear list. The second thing is a wool or synthetic long sleeve base layer top. So this is something that's going to be worn next to your skin. We want it to be long sleeve. It can be, here's an example of a buff. So it goes over your head as a gaiter. We'll do some modeling here. Yeah. Gaiter can go up as headband, balaclava. Yeah, if it's really cold, you will see people wearing buffs like this out there on the course. You want to do like a little hat, maybe? Yeah, just like that. So, super versatile. They also fit really nicely underneath a bike helmet. That's something to consider too. If you have like your favorite, fuzzy hat with a pom-pom on top, and then you go to put your bike helmet on, it's really not going to be that comfortable. So just keep that in mind too. So long sleeve base layer top. We've got a couple different options. This one's Patagonia Capeline, so this would be a synthetic. We've also got a really nice merino 200 weight layer base layer. These particular shirts, Earl and I wear them like all the time. They're great for just on their own to get a little bit more breathability, or underneath kind of a jacket to face some colder temperatures. But just something that's next to your skin, that's not going to retain moisture, that's going to pull it away, and that will be a long sleeve item. Some people ask if they can wear a short sleeve base layer plus arm warmers, and that answer is yes. So as long as you have something that in combination will cover your entire arms and your torso, that's what we mean as a base layer. Arm warmers are a really great idea too, because you can push them down, pull them up, push them down, pull them up. Super easy to adjust. Actually wore some like 2 weekends ago. It was a little bit cooler. Keep them up for the start of your run, push them down when you're kind of in the middle of your run, pull them up again when you're done and walking to the car. Like, they're just really versatile pieces. Next on the list is a fleece long sleeve top. I really like to use a quarter zip for this application because, again, like just anything that can help you vent on the go. So a couple different options. Obviously, women probably will appreciate, I know I always appreciate a women's cut because you can just keep closer to your body. And then this quarter zip here helps you vent quite a bit of body heat when you're like, in the middle of a trekking section going up a huge hill. And then maybe when you're biking and it's windy, you can zip this back up again and keep all of that wind chill off your chest and neck. So the fleece is super lightweight. This doesn't have to be expedition weight clothing, and that's what we're looking for. This one has a half zip too. If you're more comfortable with a full zip, fleece that's more of like a jacket, it might be a little bit heavier, but that gives you just some additional venting options when you're out, biking versus paddling. You might want a little bit more of that flexibility.
So like this is a 100 weight fleece, so this is like the lightest weight fleece that most manufacturers make. This is what we like to use because it's just lighter, takes up less room in the pack, those kind of things. But as a first time racer, it's like, I don't have one of those, but I have a 200 weight. 200 weight fleece is fine. You do not need to, you've got one that's like close enough, it will work. The gentleman there in the Adam LT, that would work as well. You know, it doesn't.
Do you want to do some modeling for us?
But yeah, so something like that that's going to be a synthetic with
Insulation
with some
layer.
insulation in it. Like the blue one there, I don't think that's insulated, but you know it's going to have some insulation in it. Or like something that's got a very thin synthetic feel to it. You know, it's not like it's got to be this, but you know, it'll be a little gray area, but you need to have some sort of synthetic warming layer. And it might be cold enough where you're going to wear it the whole race. We don't know.
Yeah.
But you definitely.
Is what you're wearing allowed?
This here, I would say no, because it really doesn't have any insulating material to it. It's more of a, kind of like, it's just more of a shirt.
Yeah. I've got a few of those. I'm just trying to clarify.
You know, I think for safety purposes, because when these are wet, they're just, other than that, they're great shirts, but it's just like, if you were in the river and things got bad, we'd be more comfortable with something a little
Will you be
warmer.
checking her stuff Friday night? Or Saturday when it's too late for us to recover?
Great question. If you have questions about any of your gear and you want to bring it in Friday night, we will be more than happy. I mean, you can bring it into a class and we can go through it with you. We do not check anything Friday night unless you want us to bring it in. But then on the course, we do have surprise mandatory gear checks. So it'll be at a random checkpoint, maybe more than one, maybe every single checkpoint will check you for a piece of gear. And there'll be a volunteer with a clipboard, and they will have a printed list of items or a single item that say, show me your hat. And since it's a individual gear item, if you're a 4-person team, you need to produce 4 hats, 1 for each teammate. And if you don't pass that check, or if you don't pass that gear check, then you don't get to punch the checkpoint for that flag. So yeah, that's a great question. If you have any gray area, you're in doubt if something counts as a fleece, or you're just unsure about anything, bring it to Friday night packet pickup. We'll look at it. We'll help you decide. Or even if you're deciding between two, like I have a heavier weight fleece and a lighter weight fleece. Now that we know what the weather's going to be on race day, what should I do? That's great things to bring to us on Friday night. Okay, wool or synthetic long pants. This is probably the most broad category. This can be a base layer pant, so like a long underwear type of, this one's a merino, like a tight that you can wear. So you'd probably wear this probably the whole race, just because it's next to your skin and takes a lot of time to change in the winter. So you could have a base layer tight. You could have a synthetic. This is the same thing except in a synthetic material. So another base layer tight. Or you could have running tight. This is again wool or synthetic long pants. So you could just have this, like if it's super cold, you might want a base layer tight and a running tight on top of it. And then also trekking pants would fit this category. So you just need something that covers your entire leg, either next to your skin, maybe if you're going to wear bike shorts, on top of your bike shorts, or just a regular synthetic hiking pant or a trekking pant, just something to cover your whole leg. Also, kind of in the same vein as the short sleeve base layer plus arm warmers, you could also wear shorts plus leg warmers. So these are kind of a full leg option. They actually you pull them on like pants, and then they have a little elastic strap with rippers that kind of cinch around your thigh. If I'm getting this on the video, they cinch around your thigh. And then they have zippers on the bottom here, so you can pull them over your shoes, which make them pretty easy to get on and off. The caveat with the leg warmers is they're not always designed to be worn while running. So they're pretty good on bikes and in the canoes, they'll stay in place. But if you're running and if you have kind of a size that's slightly too big for your leg, then they have a tendency to kind of fall down and pool around your ankles. So if you're going to wear leg warmers, you're more than welcome to with shorts. You need to have leg warmers with shorts. And then just give them a test run before the race so that you don't end up like tripping on them in the woods. It's the last thing anyone needs. Okay, the next two things are a waterproof jacket and waterproof pants. This was the thing that I struggled with the most when I was getting ready for the adventure race. Like, actually I found like fleece in my closet. I found some items that would work for my base layer, synthetic top and bottom, but I did not own a pair of rain pants. So this is something that if you don't own one, you might, I guess I would say it was the most likely for people not to have already in their closet. Fortunately, the Alpine Shop sells a variety of rain pants, so we're happy to help you out there. Probably the most common ones that we sell are the Precip pants, and they come in a couple different versions. These ones are just the ankle zip version, so they zip open wide at your ankle to get them on and off over your shoes. They also come in a full zip version. We don't have them up here, but they just, if you picture like basketball warm-up pants that, you can like do that whole like rip them off thing. We make rain pants that they actually have zippers, so you can't rip them off like that. But they're great because they allow a lot of venting. So, you put them on at the beginning of the race, you run, you're getting hot, you like start to vent down the side of your leg. This is great. You jump in the boat, you're still hot, you keep them open, and then gradually as you paddle, you get colder and colder. So then you can kind of zip those full zips back up and can retain a little bit more of that body heat. So just be aware that there's a couple different options in the rain pants market. And I think we have some women's pants too at the end. So again, these come in even a higher, you've got a nice Velcro closure, even a higher zipper at the bottom, so they open up wide to get your shoes in and out. And then these ones have nice zippered pockets too, so if you need a secure passport holder place, always go for a zippered pocket.
And most of the pockets are also venting meshed in most of these pockets in the pants, so keep those open. That will help with breathability as well.
Ask a question about this?
Yeah.
Is there flexibility at all as far as the weather report? Do you have to wear the rain pants the entire time, or can you say you have them with you?
Oh, great question.
And also, I guess two parts, like where, if at all, is there flexibility with the gear list?
Yes. Okay. So the question is, number one, I guess I just want to make sure that we're on the same page. You do not have to wear these items all at once for the whole race. Great question.
Rain pants too,
Yeah.
You can do the whole race in a short sleeve shirt and bike shorts if you want to, but you have to have all this mandatory gear with you. And right now I don't see us deviating off that gear list at all because it's a December race and the weather can change. Now all of a sudden it's going to be like 80 degrees all day. We're still probably going to make you do it because the Merrimack is still only going to be like 40-degree weather temperature. If you go in, we want you to have those items to put on, and it's going to help you get your body heat faster back and going. So, unless it's...
There's a highly unlikely chance that we would change the gear list.
Yeah, but you can race with whatever you want to wear, but you need to have these items.
And I'm just going to jump onto this point for a second too. If if it's a warmer day and you decide like, okay, I'm going to start the race in pants and a short sleeve shirt, and then I'm going to carry all the rest of my mandatory gear in my pack. You can carry it however you want in your pack, but we recommend that you put it in some sort of dry bag, either something like Sea to Summit that makes a really durable, lightweight dry sack, or something as simple as a Ziploc bag. Like, so just something that you can keep all of those clothes that you're not wearing dry. So in the event that you do need them, you're not going to pull out sopping wet pieces of gear out of your pack. And it's just lighter. If you're carrying dry clothes, they're going to be, way lighter than wet, soggy fleeces in your pack. So just try to think about that when you're putting all your stuff together.
I have a question about
Yeah.
rain gear again.
Uh-huh.
Sizing. I don't have any, so they pretty much come baggy or.
So you want it to wear, let's just say that let's just say if you have a pair of long underwear on, you want the rain pants to fit over it like a pair of jeans. Not skinny jeans, but just a regular pair of jeans. And don't envision like rain pants going over a regular pair of jeans, and you're going to be too big. And the thing is that all water gear, when it's wet, seems to grow. The pants get longer, they keep falling down, so it's like, don't size too big, just size to fit. Same thing with a rain jacket. That one you can get by with maybe a little bit of, you want to size up because you're like, oh, I'm going to have on a base layer, I'm going to have on a fleece, I'm going to have on the rain jacket. But you still, again, don't want it like
Baggy.
too baggy.
Okay, so you want to wear your rain pants with your trekking pants?
Yeah, you want to be able to wear your rain pants over any other clothes you're going to have on that day. They don't need to be massive. Just, again, that's extra fabric that you need to carry around, and extra fabric to snag on different, things in the woods. But yeah, you definitely want to be able to fit them over what you're going to have on.
So when you're shopping, I would bring with you what you plan to wear at the event, and then try the rain pants on over that, so then you're getting that true fit.
And it's really nice if your rain jacket, I guess we haven't talked about, let's talk about rain jackets. Most of them are going to come with a hood. That's definitely a feature you really want. It just adds to the flexibility of the rain jacket. You just have one more piece that you can adjust to your body's activity and temperature. So would you say this is a very comfortable fit for you?
So this is this is the fit I'd be looking for. So then,
Precip. This rain jacket, is this a Precip?
this is the Marmot Precip. This is probably one of your best values for rain gear. So you get
Precip's another way to regulate your body temperature. Hood, on and off.
and this hood is nice because you can cinch it here. But then you also have the Velcro and back to pull it back off your face so you can see. There's some jackets out there that just cinch this way and then it keeps falling like that. And I've raced like that. It's so annoying because you have to do this all the time. So I always look for a jacket that also has something to cinch down but also pull back.
And I really like when jackets have this really nice high collar. I'm generally a colder racer. I'm going to get cold before I get hot. So I just like anything that can kind of like cozy around my neck and my head to keep me warm. So that's something I really like with the Precip. It just comes up really nice and high. Another thing, if you're going to be in the front of the boat, with canoe paddles, it's not as big of a deal as with kayak paddles. If you're in the front of the boat with kayak paddles, you just get drenched, like no matter what. With canoe paddles, it's a little bit less spray-y. But if you're going to be in the front of the boat and you have a tendency to get cold, I would put your rain jacket on right away before you get in, so you don't have to mess with it like under your PFD while you're trying to paddle down the river. Just put it on once, and then you'll stay warm throughout the paddle. Any other examples of rain jackets?
So, you know, the Precip is kind of the best place to start. If you're one of those people that are like, you know what, I've always wanted a good rain jacket, and I'm willing to spend a little extra money, I'd definitely consider going with something that might have gore. It's just going to be a little bit more breathable, and it's not going to, the potential for it to wet out is going to be a little bit longer. So,
Unless you're wearing a like laminated plastic old school raincoat, it's really hard to get an actual waterproof, breathable raincoat. I'm sorry for all the like brand people out there. It's really, really hard. So you're gonna, if you're out there, if it's gonna be raining for 8 hours, unless your rain gear is like old school, like plastic trench coat, you're probably gonna wet out a little bit. So you just want to make sure that, that's why we have the fleece layers and the base layers, so that even if you do get wet like that, you're gonna stay warm. And then the rain jackets still will do a great job of keeping your body heat in and close to you, especially with the hood up. So that's, even more reason to carry them along with you, to just keep all that body heat nice and warm around you. And then, look for a couple hills out there, get your heart rate up a little bit, and you'll warm up right away.
So it sounds like if it's even really chilly, you're probably recommending to put your rain gear on before you even get in the boat.
Yeah, I would say, I don't want to really put temperatures on it, but when you come into the paddling section or sections, you're going to be moving quickly, and then once you sit down, you're using your torso and your arms, but your legs, the blood is just not circulating as much, so you just get colder. And so if there's anything you can do to kind of mitigate that and slow that down by putting your rain pants on right away, putting your rain jacket on right away, that'll help keep you warmer for longer.
it also depends on how your body temperature runs. There's certain people that just run hot. So it's like, there's people that when it's 40 degrees are still in just shorts and long sleeve shirt and they're comfortable. There's other people that are like 40 degrees and it's like, I need a snowmobile suit. So everybody's different, and the thing is like, if you're running to something, you're going to be a lot warmer. Let's just say that the paddle is
An hour.
2
hours.
2 hours. And it's like, how cold are you going to get? Some people, like, I can put on a hat and top and a PFD, and sitting in the back, I'm going to work hard enough to where I can stay warm. Emily's in the front, she's working hard, but a lot of water's coming on her, so it's like she needs to take the time to put that rain jacket on. A lot of it just depends on if you're in the front or back. But it's just going to be very dependent on that day and how your body temperature runs. We tell all you, yeah, you're going to want your rain pants and jacket on. Some of you are going to be like, God, those guys were geniuses. Others were like, I'm so hot I can't even breathe. I want to take all this stuff off and I'm super sweaty. If you ever get super sweaty, stop and do something about it, because all of a sudden you're like, everything just gets so saturated and then it's just, bleh. So it's like, I always will like, I have my rain jacket on, I open it up and pull it outside my PFD to at least get that until we're at a place where we can A, be finished, or we're going to be getting out of the boat to do a checkpoint or something. But it's like, keep yourself as comfortable as you possibly can. You never want to be too cold, but you never want to be too hot, especially this time of year. You just don't want to sweat too much, because it can be counterproductive later on in the day.
What
was that jacket called that had the Gore-Tex?
This one here, this is the Marmot Minimalist, $200. Also features the same, the pit zips, hood pulls are a little bit nicer, and then this one actually has a shock cord pull versus the Velcro. But there's other companies that do this as well, but Marma just makes a great product at a great value. So a Gore-Tex jacket at $200, definitely something to consider.
So the last thing on our mandatory gear list that's clothing related is something for your hands, either gloves or mittens. This kind of goes to personal preference as well. Something like a nice lightweight synthetic liner glove. These, we have a couple different brands of these in the store, but they're just like kind of a really dexterous, nice glove. I mean, they're just the glove, nothing fancy. These are great for anywhere from like 10 or 15 degrees if you're active to 50 degrees. Just as long as you're moving and you're not just holding your hand still and out of the shade. And if it's a little bit colder, you might want to move to kind of a heavier weight glove. I think this one has some wind blocker in it too, so it just keeps your hands a little bit more protected. This one actually is from Pearl, and it has like a bike glove integrated into it, so you could really wear this the whole race, and you'd still have that extra protection for when you're biking. And then kind of the next, mother of all hand protections are, I guess, from Missouri for lobster gloves. So if you haven't seen these guys before, they're pretty fun. They split your hand up into a lobster shape, so like, this is great for biking on your mountain bike, so you can hold onto the bars, you can brake easily without, taking your whole hand if you were in a mitten to, remove your whole hand and grab your brake levers. Now you can only do it with your 2 front fingers. So that's kind of the purpose of these lobsters. They're really insulated, they're pretty nice. I did make the mistake one year I wore these on a running section, and just what Earl was just talking about, my hands got super hot, but we were like crushing it, and I didn't want to stop and mess with my gloves, so I kept wearing them. Then we got to the paddle, my hands were really sweaty, and all of a sudden like the sweat just started to make my hands colder and colder and colder. And I was in the back of the boat that year, so I like couldn't stop paddling, and my hands turned to ice. So if you're wearing something that's really insulated like this, just make sure to like take it on, take it off, take it on, take it off as much as you need to kind of vent your hands out and keep the sweat from accumulating and wetting out the inside of the glove, or the lobster in this case. So just kind of give yourself some options before race day. It might be warm enough that you could just wear a pair of liner gloves, a lightweight pair for the whole race, and be fine. And it might be something where you need, maybe multiple mittens. Sometimes it's really nice to have like a backup pair of mittens in a Ziploc in your backpack, and then you get to either the start of the paddle or the end of the paddle or sometime in the race, and you just have that in your mind the whole time. Like, I have a nice warm pair of mittens, dry mittens, in my backpack waiting for me. And it's such like a nice mental boost to have that kind of like treat to look forward to, like a nice dry pair of mittens. So just kind of keep that in your mind too. We have 1 pair that's mandatory on the gear list, but it might serve you better to bring 2 or 3 pairs depending on the course. Latex gloves.
So we talked about these again last week, but again, they don't weigh much, and there's just going to be opportunities there where you might say, I really want these. And, for a paddle, if it's kind of like one of those things that's in question, and you don't want to carry a big pair of lobsters, I would do this, and one of these, and it's a lot just less bulk. The other thing would be is if you wear your gloves on the paddle, pretty much they're going to be saturated when you're done. And if it's really cold, that's one thing that I would definitely consider carrying a spare pair of is gloves. Because when your hands and toes are cold, life is not a lot of fun. Pretty much can bring you to tears.
I cried that year on the paddle when my hands froze. Like, I cried. It was bad.
I mean, there's nothing worse when your hands are so cold that you're about ready to throw up. It's just that gut-wrenching, burning sensation.
You feel it right here.
You don't want to go there. Because what we're trying to do is prevent people from having that happen. So having an extra pair of gloves. The other thing is, I don't know if we talked about it, is the chem warmers. To have those for your hands and feet, those really do work. So if you have, and they don't wear a lot either. So it's like if you have a pair for everybody on your team, if it's a really cold day, it's just like keep these in your gloves, and they're gonna last for the race as long as they're ones that work. Sometimes they don't always fire, but definitely if it's a cold day, I would definitely consider having those. You know what I'm talking? Most people know what we're talking about there.
Little chemical
The
warmers.
little chemical things. They make them for your hands, and you can just put them in your shoes too. So if we're in those dangerous time zones, temperature areas, I'd recommend.
Make
that
sure if
too.
you do put them in your shoes that you still have room to like wiggle your toes. I know in my bike shoes, there's not a whole lot of room in there, so if I have like my regular socks and chem warmers, it's just going to be like crammed in there and my feet aren't going to have anywhere to wiggle. So that is going to, on one hand the chem warmers are going to kind of keep them warm, but on the other hand my toes don't have anywhere to like generate their own circulation. So just keep that in mind if you're going to put them in your shoes, that your feet can still move. And then, those things work on getting air ventilated through them. So, you want to make sure that there's air kind of coming at them to keep them firing.
So what do you guys recommend for socks then? Like how wet do your feet get when pedaling?
We always, this is like, again, kind of counterintuitive, but we pretty much always wear the thinnest socks possible, really no matter what the temperature, just because the thinner sock that it is, the less that it's going to retain water and the faster that it's going to dry, either through, getting ventilation through moving or your body's, body heat that it's hopefully generating. So we use pretty thin socks. The way that we keep our feet warm in the winter, we talked about dog poop bags last time. Put those on either next to your skin, sometimes even just over your sock is fine, to help create a vapor barrier close to your foot and retain all of that body heat. The other thing that we do, I don't think we have them up here, is there's neoprene shoe covers. This isn't really applicable when you're trekking, but when you're trekking, like, your feet are moving all the time and they're going to pretty much stay warm no matter what. So, but if you're biking, that's an opportunity for your feet to get in the wind a lot and cold. So you can either have a neoprene toe cover that goes over your shoe when you're biking. They're just little, like, kind of toe booties. You can have a full shoe cover with a zipper in the back to put over your entire shoe. That helps insulate it from the wind. And then, the full-on deluxe version is to transition into a winter shoe that has the insulation kind of built into the shoe itself. And it's like designed exclusively for winter bike riding.
And we will be having a bike drop. So I'll just say that at the bike drop, if you want to leave, some warmer bike-related items, that will be okay. So if you're like, really would like my shoe covers, we'll allow that. It's just anything that you leave at that bike transition, it will be going with you.
Yep. Anything you leave at the bike drop, so obviously you're going to leave your bike there. You can leave your helmet there. If you use biking shoes, you can leave your bike shoes there, your bike gloves. But if you want, a whole extra set of clothes, anything you can leave at the bike drop as long as you take it with you when you go or you throw it away. We don't provide any sort of gear shuttle service from the bike drop back to the finish line. So anything you leave there needs to be either put on your body and taken with you or found an appropriate place to dispose of it. And I don't mean the side of a road in a ditch, I mean like a garbage can.
It needs to go with you. I picked up too much stuff last year. Gallons of water, drink bottles. Not going to do that this year. It needs to go with you. If you want clothes, great. But extra food and water, that's fair. You know, you'll have your water bottles on your bike, and you can put a bento box on your bike, and you can put food in that. That should be enough for an 8-hour race. We don't need gallon jugs of water and buffets. They got a little on hand last year. So, but you know, extra clothes that you're going to wear out of there, and anything that you take off, you're going to have to take with you. Now, if you find a dumpster along the way, that's okay, but you know, it needs to be disposed of in a legitimate spot.
Leave no trace.
Yes.
Yes.
So, during the boating, you get your feet wet, your socks wet. Typically, you just, after you're done boating, you continue with those? Do you change? Is it...
You can do whatever you'd like to. My preference is just get going. Switch shoes, get going. Because I've done so many races that it's like, oh, we're done. We're at the transition area. I'm going to put on dry socks. You don't go 100 meters down the road, what are they going to do? They're going to make you cross the stream. And those dry socks were dry socks.
Those race directors, they're just the meanest
The dry
people.
socks were amazing for 100 meters, and now I've got another wet pair of socks. Winter racing is a little bit different. You're only going to have one paddle.
Are you sure about that?
What?
There might be two this year.
There's one.
Are you sure?
But, yes, well, sorry. Didn't even wait to test out. So, you know, if you want to have socks afterwards, yes. But I can't guarantee you that they're going to stay dry. The odds are pretty strong that there's going to be some creek crossings and that kind of stuff afterwards that they'll be getting wet again. I can guarantee you that.
Do you like to incorporate the dog food, plastic bags?
What's that?
How do you like to incorporate those in your strategy? Like you don't have them on the whole time, right?
No, because normally if you start on foot, your feet are going to get too hot and sweaty and get super clammy, so you don't want that. If you wanted to take the time to put them on before paddle, yeah. But it's like, to me, I'd be, okay, I just came off a paddle, my feet are wet, now we're going to go out on a bike, and be switching shoes at that point in time. That's your golden opportunity to do this.
And these work best, yeah, just like Earl said, best on the bike and paddle, not great on trekking sections. Okay, I have just one more. I just want to, since we're kind of talking about paddling today, I know Perry said it earlier, but just want to make sure that you all know that the race provides your canoes. You can't show up with your amazing MR340 race boat. Everyone's in the same canoe. We're all in the same boat. So just no personal boats. We also require that everybody use the race-provided paddles. So in some of the longer races, you'll see teams bringing their own kayak paddles. But for this race, we're all, again, trying to kind of keep the playing field a little bit even. So everybody's going to use the same race-provided paddles. Don't show up with your own kayak paddles or even your own, you know, Kevlar or carbon fiber canoe paddles. Like, sorry, this is not the place for them. So everyone gets to use the same paddles. And then we all also use all the same PFDs that are provided by our boat outfitter. So you don't need to own any of those items for this race. If you own them, you can't even use them. So just save your money for some longer 24-hour races when you're allowed to use those things. So, questions?
So one paddle per boat.
Or one paddle per person. Yes. One paddle per person. Yeah.
So are you doing these races with 2 pairs of shoes, or you usually just have 1 pair and let them dry out?
Yeah, for this race, for an 8-hour, what I would typically use would be 1 pair of trekking shoes and then 1 pair of biking shoes. And then depending on where the paddling section or sections fall in the race, I would either wear my trekking or my biking shoes in the boat. Just depends on, you know, if you have a bike section on either end of the paddle, just wear your same shoes in the boat and save the time. What I would probably also do is, if you have a second pair of trekking shoes, I would bring them in case the course like loops back on itself to the finish line. Some years it does, some years it doesn't, but if it does do that, it might be nice to have a dry pair of shoes if you have that available to you. So definitely one pair of trekking shoes, one pair of biking shoes, and then if you have a spare pair of trekking shoes, just bring them with you in case the course kind of loops back.
So you can use the starting point as a gear drop?
Yeah.
Extra stuff.
Right, yeah, and you'll know on Friday when you see the maps if that's going to be an option. It's kind of been like 50-50 in years past if you've been able to stage stuff at the finish line. So you'll know on Friday night.
Did you say we could leave our bike shoes at the bike drop?
Yep, yeah, if you're using specific bike shoes, then you can leave them with your bike at the bike drop on the morning of the race. And then obviously you'll come into the bike drop. You'll put your trekking shoes in your pack, you'll put your bike shoes on your feet, and then you'll leave via bike. So I think we mentioned it last week, but just make sure if you are someone who uses biking shoes and trekking shoes, that your trekking shoes will fit either in your pack or one of your teammates' packs. Or you might give a shoe to two of your, one shoe to two people. We've done that a bunch of times just to spread out the load a little bit. So, yeah.
Mountain bike, road bike?
Mountain bike required. Yep. No cyclocross, no road. You need a mountain bike.
And for this course, you'll want a mountain bike.
You will want a mountain bike. Yep. What other questions?
For people not using bike shoes, do you think one will be sufficient, or?
Yeah, totally. Like the second pair is it's like a total luxury.
Okay.
And there's no guarantee that you'll actually be able to use it. It's just Tess is going crazy.
You need to show this so that people that are at home are
Okay,
missing
yeah,
out.
I will. But it's just kind of nice, like mentally, to be, if like there's anything you can do, like anything that's motivating to you, to just like, I have a dry shirt, I have a dry pair of socks, I have my favorite chocolate bar waiting for me at a certain part of the course. It's like just really motivating to get to that point, and then have a little like reward kind of midway through the race. So I've been motivated a lot by dry clothing at a certain TA. So it's a good one. Okay, any other questions? I'm gonna let Tess sign. Hey, Tess, come here. Okay, sit, please. Sit. Okay, Facebook land, we're gonna, hey, come back here. All right, this is what you've been missing. Let's see if I can, yeah. Tess has been our assistant professor all class, and she's been just greeting all of our attendees. So, Tess, do you want to say hi to Facebook?
Tess.
Come here.
Sit.
Yeah.
Sit.
Sit, please. Okay. Wait, where'd you go? All right, that's all we got there, guys. Thank you.
Good job. Thanks.